Hey, how are you? Okay, it's Man Cow Monday Night Live. Oh, this is great. I'm so excited. This is going to be fun. And we almost did nobody today. We almost, I don't know. Sometimes I like to just have no guests. We're going to have a great guest here shortly, Nelson. And man, there is 100 years of showbiz to talk about there. So this is going to be fun. Old joke. A lion is by the water. Its tail is up. A gorilla sees it, goes up and does the Andy Dick with it. You know what I mean? The tiger is furious, chases the monkey into the encampment where some safari people are, and the monkey is scared to death. The lion's going to kill him. Puts on a pith hat, a helmet, puts on safari gear, puts a pipe in his mouth, gets the newspaper. The lion runs into the tent and says, "Hey! You see a gorilla around here?" He lowers the paper. He goes, "Gorilla? You mean the one that raped the lion?" The lion goes, "What's in the paper already?" Okay. All right. Did it make sense? No reaction from the crowd here in the Muller Manor. So small audience tonight. That's all we can handle. And if you ever win a tour of Muller Manor, yes, they're doing the wave. That's very clever. Very okay. Left to right, right to left. And now get out of here. Okay. Yeah. Let's just do the intro and we'll go to I usually do more nonsense here, but I'm excited to talk to the guests. So let's do it after that joke. And cow. I had that same thing that just happened, the intro there. That was in Peru, but I walked out of my dentist today, Dr. Sandusky, and a girl's doing a photo shoot. You know, they're just there. And you walk out. I walked out on the street of Chicago, and she's pissed at me like, I'm interrupting her photo shoot. Go get bent. All right, let's bring on Gunnar. Gunnar, there he is, with a cool name. You got to love. Do you like the name Gunnar?
I don't mind it. I'm kind of attached to it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I wanted to do Helmet was one name, for my kids. I wanted Gretel. I have two daughters. You met them. But I wanted to do good, strong ethnic names. And, I lost my wife.
Well, Gretel, just to note, Gretel and Helmut would be German. I have nothing against German. I'm not part Austrian myself, but Gunnar is Swedish.
Okay.
Scandinavian, but it's a very common name there. But yeah.
Well, I would have guessed it as German. So thank you. Yeah, and those names are German because I'm German. So Müller, Ash Müller,
Müller, with the umlauts, of course.
Yeah. So Gunnar, you were with me, and you have kids, and we all have kids. You're with me with I'm not saying this for you being here. You were with me on the worst day I ever spent with my children.
Okay, expound.
You were very nice. They were awful. And I mean, I'm there's worse days when they're sick or whatever, but I'm saying the worst, and I tell them the worst day. We met Nelson. Which one of you is the bad twin?
That's
and
me.
They wouldn't. But they wouldn't talk. They were as rude as can be. We saw Felix Sliwa or Silva or whatever his name was, who was in the Twiggy suit, the robot from Buck Rogers, which I owned. He'd been to my home. Dawn Wells would do my show for a month a year. Mary Ann, they saw Mary. No, never seen Gilligan's Island. What? No. You don't remember. You don't remember Cousin It. This is Cousin It. No. We've watched how many Addams Family together? No. They're twins. This is twins. Gunnar and Matthew. I don't know what I think it's because with you guys watching, I couldn't yell. I'm with all these celebrities there. I had to, this is, oh God. Oh.
Well, I don't feel so bad if they didn't recognize us, if they didn't recognize Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island, for crying out loud.
No, but they know who these people are. They know who these people. All right, Ron Onesti says hi. Who else they say? Mike McVeigh said hi. Was radio good to you?
I love radio. I've always loved radio. I did. Yeah. I wasn't, listen, I was a morning show guy for about 2.5 years for the Jones Network.
You did a show.
I did. Yeah. I was a co-host on the Lifetime Radio Network. And Mike McVeigh, you mentioned, was the one that got me to that, which was cool. And I loved it. But to be honest with you, I'm not a morning person by nature. The Nelson men don't tend to sleep. Like Grandpa Ozzy slept 3 hours a night, period. That's it. And so for me, my prime time to be creative is like 10 o'clock at night to 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And so getting up for morning radio, it was brutal for me. Yeah. It was hard to do.
I started in 84 and I never got used to it. It never stopped sucking. I got up at 2:30 every single morning, and it was brutal. I will tell you from David Cassidy, and also who did morning radio, and Danny Bonaducci, and David Lee Roth. I'll tell you what happened to those three. And that is, obviously, I want to ask about your father. Obviously, I want to ask about the family. And you know now that that's my job. Sure. And in the past, you know, I don't want to talk about Van Halen, or I don't want to talk about the Partridge Family. You have to tell these stories. That's why you're here. That's your job. And so, do you feel like as a I'm getting blurry. Do you feel like as a now that you've hosted, do you feel like you're a better guest?
I think so. You know, I think I'm definitely more present as far as speaking on radio. What's been difficult for me and Matthew is that, like, especially when we've gone to podcasting now, which is great because you can actually see your guests that you're interviewing. But when Matthew and I ever did any co-hosting together, we're a genetic duplicate of each other. So, you know, one wasn't the generator, one wasn't the reactor. We both try to be both. And the two voices blended together, and it was very confusing for our guests. So that's why I kind of split off and I did my own thing with my co-host on my radio show. It just worked out. It worked out fine. And actually, I really do. I love it. And here we are. Yeah, everybody's podcasting and everybody's a radio star now, which is cool.
No, it's not.
I think it's okay. I think that
I hate it.
Always rises. Well, come on. The cream always rises to the top, and you know, you're always engaged.
You know, I'm just getting started in 84. 85 was your father's plane crash. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, I hate was that a smooth transition? Probably not. But I remember that Paul McCartney was really pushing the Everly Brothers to radio stations, and he had done something new with the Everly Brothers. And am I saying it right? And they came on and were very crestfallen. That's what I remember about your father's plane crash.
Well, you know, it was different in his case. For the listeners out there that don't know, my dad was someone named Ricky Nelson, and he and Elvis were really the two biggest stars during that whole era. There was kind of like a little friendly rivalry that was going on back and forth, kind of like a Beatles-Stones sort of thing for the kids of that age. And our dad had the unfair advantage of growing up on a family television show, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, that ran for 14 and a half years, 435 episodes. It's still the longest running live action sitcom in history. And it was a real family playing a real family. Our grandpa, Ozzie Nelson, wrote, produced, edited, directed, and starred in all 435 episodes and ran a successful family, did the whole thing. Our dad started singing on that show when he was like 15 or 16, right around that time. Doesn't sound like a big deal now, but back in the day, rock and roll was considered like the devil's music. And so the family got a lot of hate mail and stuff. But our dad, it was best put this way. Someone said that Elvis turned off a lot of parents. Ricky didn't. Pat Boone turned off a lot of kids. Ricky didn't. He was like the right guy at the time to smuggle rock and roll into mainstream American living rooms at a critical time in its history when it was pretty much fringe music. And as a result, America really tuned in to the Ozzie and Harriet show every single week. It was like kind of like the Truman Show before the Truman Show. And so when our father did die on his way to a gig on New Year's Eve in 1985 going into 86.
I remember, yeah.
It hit people in a different way because our family, especially our dad, felt like their family member. And it was really not just like a celebrity passing away on the way to a show, which a lot of us have done. It was really kind of like a turning point as far as the innocence of America and all that. People magazine had their cover and said, you know, the death of the boy next door. And it really kind of felt like that for a lot of people. Now, on the bright side of things, because we're Nelsons, we always look for the silver lining. We have the unfair advantage as his sons to have him out there. There's a great Swedish expression that every man dies two deaths. The first is when his physical body goes. Right. And the second is when the last person that remembers and loves them does too. And because of his music, he still feels like he's very much around. You know, I still feel him over my shoulder all the time. And he was just a really great guy. He was funny. I know it's normal for people to deify their deceased parents and stuff, but our dad was really an awesome guy. And he literally lived and died for rock and roll. So Matt and I are kind of proud to be carrying the family torch and carrying on with his work and doing all that stuff. But you would have liked him, man. He was a good guy.
Thank you for that. No, sure. Thank you because You have to do that. You probably have to do this every day.
No,
but I really appreciate you doing it. It's got to be. I dated Linda Blair. I'm not bragging, but everywhere we went, she had to talk about The Exorcist. And the first year, I thought, God, I had great questions. And you've been interviewed your whole life since you were a fetus. I'm not gonna ask you anything shocking. I said I'd be, and people know, and I wanted to explain who the Nelsons were. Me TV and Antenna TV, a friend of mine sets those up and runs those, or runs a chunk of that. And they have great success with I don't know what the old maid show is. Hazel. So and Jack Benny. And these shows are getting the bigger ratings than the I Dream of Genies and the Beavers because they haven't been shown. Is The Adventures of Ozzy and Harriet being shown anywhere?
Well, we actually just spent the whole era during COVID digitizing all 435 episodes into high def. We went back to the original 35 millimeter films.
Yeah.
And cleaned everything up. And we actually have an offer on the table to actually get them out and to have them be broadcast for the first time in high def, which is cool. The only thing that makes it a little difficult, to be honest with you, is that Ozzy and Harriet was different from, say, I Love Lucy. I Love Lucy, another situation comedy, but there was a lot of slapstick in that. And slapstick is kind of timeless, so to speak. But, our episodes in the Adventures of Ozzy and Harriet were really kind of based around what was going on at the time, which was in the 50s. The pace was a lot slower. There wasn't a whole lot of slapstick in it. So it's a little more difficult to translate that into people nowadays who are used to quick cuts and short attention span theater. So, I'm not really sure. It would have to be, more of a WeTV sort of thing where people just wanted that hug from the inside and that nostalgia.
Well, look, these shows are doing well on Me TV and Antenna TV.
Yeah.
And I think it would hit. I think people are hungry for this. And those were good shows. Not that you're downplaying it, but I think you're downplaying it. Didn't every star come by to see the family? I remember everybody was on that show, right?
Well, it wasn't quite as cool as the Twilight Zone when you had like the most amazing actors in the world on that show during that time. There were some guests and stuff, but they really kind of built that show around characters that they developed over the years. Like they had Thorny the neighbor, and he was a constant in that. And then
what an asshole Thorny was.
Right. There were some different times, I think
they were better times, man. They were better times.
Listen, I in my life, times were better before the cell phone. I had culpable deniability.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting tracked.
God, I would love to push a button and get rid of social media
There's
too.
No photographic proof of my misgivings. So
the long hair. Do you miss? Metallic with short hair doesn't seem the same. Is now? It's been gone for many, many years. But do you miss? The hair was so incredibly long. Do you miss you and your brother with the crazy hair, man?
Look, the thing is, if you wanted to get any chicks, man, you had long hair back in the day, period. Endofstory.com. That's what rock and roll was.
How'd you do, man? You got the name Gunnar. You were a famous family. Your dad's a rock and roll superstar. I bet you did okay, son. Yeah.
I plead the fifth. I remember I'm the bad.
You're the naughty one. Are you married now?
No longer, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We just went in different directions and stuff, but I was able to prove I'm great at being a husband. I'm great at being a father, and I love being a father. I still have my 3 kids, and they're amazing. So, yeah.
Well, it's tough. Marriage is tough. I asked my wife if I was the only one, and she said yes. The others were 8s and 9s. Thank you. That got a better laugh than the first joke. And your sister was the one that was on Square Pegs.
That's right, Tracy Nelson, and she was the Valley Girl character on Square Pegs. But actually, her lick was when she did that show with Tom Bosley, The Father Dowling Mysteries.
I remember that. Yeah. She was a young nun.
She was the crime-fighting nun. Trust my sister playing a nun. That's acting, man.
Hey. Okay. So you do the Nelson songs. There's so many different parts of this. So you do the Nelson songs, and you do a show, and then you do the Father's songs as a separate show.
That's a good question. And for a lot of years,
I know the answer. Didn't I just say the answer?
Well, yes and no, because it's changed. This is actually news. What we did was we split things out for a lot of years. When the world went grunge, a lot of people from my era, from the whole confidence rock era, when everyone was living on a prayer, all of a sudden, if you didn't come from Seattle, you weren't heroin addicted, and you weren't wearing flannel, you got no work. It was pretty tough. For us, we went over to Europe, kept on making records. We started our own independent label, and we kept Nelson going that way. In the States, what we did was we did a pivot, and for the first time after we had established ourselves, we did a show called Ricky Nelson Remembered. Our dad had great music. He sold 500 million singles in his life. So we're doing songs like Traveling Man, Hello, Mary Lou, Poor Little Fool, Believe What You Say, Garden Party, all these great hits. And we had that its own specific show. It was pretty much true to the way our dad recorded in the 50s with the rockabilly thing, James Burton guitar work, that kind of stuff. It was great. A lot of fun to play. I got to be a much better guitar player doing that. And we still kept on doing the Nelson thing. What we've decided to do as of about a month ago, it's going to be the first time that we're going to do basically the same thing John Waite is doing, where he's combined his songbook from his solo stuff, from the Babies, from Bad English. And when he goes out, he's booked as John Waite, and he does all of that stuff. And we're going to start doing that from now on too.
I think it's great. I think it's great. I think, John Waite is, that was one of my first radio interviews at Q104 in Kansas City.
Right on.
And I said, listen, we're doing clues. I'm on the radio. I said, we're doing clues for this contest. I've sent you this thing. Can you read it? And he goes, fuck off. Okay. And then I saw him at Arcada, our buddy Ron Onesti's place. Same thing with Tears for Fears. And I don't want to get into politics in any way, but I'm sitting there going, oh, this guy's a communist. Anyway, they ask me things, and I love that. I love when you did that one song. I like to keep it, when you're backstage with somebody, obviously you're a fan.
Yeah.
The Tears for Fear guys were talking about, I don't know how many houses they own and how awful capitalism is. And I'm thinking,
yeah, vegetarian butchers.
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay. It occurred to me in 85 when the tragedy happened. Your dad was 45. You look very young. You look very healthy, but you got to be older than 45. My father's, I lost my dad at 62, who was a fan of your family in a big way. Did you feel it at 45?
I did. As a matter of fact, great question. That was funny enough when I met who I would then marry was it was at 45. And I had this weird feeling. It's like it was surreal. I'm the age Pop was. He always seemed to. He was so much older.
Sure.
And so that was a little bit weird. But the way I felt about it since then was, well, I mean, if he were around, he'd still be making music and he'd still be having a great time. So I'm still here. I can do that. Got to represent. And but every now and again, I do catch myself. Like today, I was talking to my guitar player, going, "Man, it's shocking to me how young 45 feels to me now." But he had an amazing life in a very short amount of time. If you think about it, I mean, he was on that television show forever, radio star.
Wait, I have a serious question. I don't know the answer.
Okay,
this is a horrible question. You like my other question? You mean why does Elvis and Ricky? Why does it get better? I'm not shitting you. Like I liked it. I always liked it. I had a greatest hits of your dad's and listened to a lot throughout the 80s. But why is it just Elvis? It just gets better. Is it because music has gotten so shitty, so much of it, or what do you think it is?
What do you mean over the years when you're listening to the old stuff?
Rick had talent. We didn't even talk about his acting. He acted with everybody in movies and but just great songs, simple songs, great. Getting right to the point. Hello, Mary Lou, Goodbye Heart. Garden Party rips my heart out every time. I'm telling you, being on the other side of my career, that song, I've been there.
Well, I'm going to start dating myself here in saying that it was a watershed moment for me when I was sitting down with a mutual friend with Dana Strum from Slaughter. We were having a conversation about things. And he said, Gunnar, the thing that's really changed now since then is back then you really had to have talent because you didn't have the technology to cover it up. There was no such thing as auto-tune. Right. You didn't have unlimited tracks. These were people that went into a studio. They sat around one microphone and you had to throw down live, period. That's the way it was. If you weren't able to do that, you didn't get a seat at the table because they didn't have a way to prop you up. There was no way to do that. And so things absolutely were different. Wow. And he said, like back then, if you think about it, celebrities were celebrated because they had an extraordinary skill. They had something that they did, whether or not they were a football star or an actress or a musician, they were exceptional at what they did. And the thing that's changed now is people are just famous for being famous' sake. They fart through silk, and the next thing you know, they got 1 million followers. And
remind me, I want to fart through silk. I got 1 million followers.
but it's really different now. It really honestly is. So it really depends, to be honest with you. To me, I've had it on both sides of the spectrum. I know what it's like to release a record and sell millions of copies and go to #1 and play to 20,000 people a night. And that's amazing. And it's really great. And it feels good that I was able to do that off of music that Matthew and I actually wrote. We didn't have stunt writers, and we actually designed the image and the videos and did that whole thing as a marketing exercise. But always underneath that, we knew that we were going to have a lot of people judging us because we were sons of. So we had to make sure that the substance was there. I didn't want to show up and be a paper tiger anywhere. I wanted to be able to hold my own on any stage. So Matt and I started singing together when we were real young. And we always knew, no matter what, with a couple of acoustic guitars. I mean, the biggest gig we ever played on our own was to 65,000 people who came to see just us playing Erie, Pennsylvania during Erie days. And it was two guys with two acoustic guitars on this little tiny postage stamp size stage, and pylons in the audience and all stuff. And it was really great. But underneath it all, we were singing the songs that we had written. And that felt really good.
I can beat you.
Go.
What a dick. No, we did Ankeny Air Force Base. It was a man cow show. I will, and we beat you a little bit, but I gotta say one thing about it. We did have Megadeth.
Okay, let's kind
on the bill.
Okay.
So that show was crazy.
Awesome,
no, but you of course you have the talent, and you're going to do all the songs from everybody's catalog. It's coming up. I see here as it scrolls on the screen, October 4th at Arcada Theater. So and Firehouse is going to play. What did I wanted this? I wonder if any of this is true. He's so full of shit. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Okay, wait a minute. I got to find it. The Nelsons recorded a few Enough's Enough songs on their record and toured with us in '91. We played sheds and arenas around the world. They also scored tons of trim. My God, the amount of pussy those guys got. Every show we got paid, and it was astronomical. $27,000 a month telephone bill on one of our phones because we had the first portable telephones. Enough's Enough borrowed and then demolished their beautiful '66 Mustang, as well as me included. And I really hail those cats. Please tell Gunnar and Matthew love from Chip.
Oh,
is it true or is it a lie?
I love Chip. What a great guy he is.
He is full of shit, but I love him.
Well, he's only full of shit on one thing. It was a 65 Mustang and not a 66 Mustang.
And he trashed it.
No, he did not. Donnie V trashed it.
Donnie V.
Yeah, Chip was an angel. He would never do that.
Oh.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, Matthew was the one that made the mistake. It was actually Matthew's car.
Yes.
It was the same. It was beautiful.
Wait. He loaned it to the druggie?
Yes. It was one of those things. I don't know. They were weird times back then.
Yeah. I wouldn't loan Donnie V anything.
Well, he was staying at our house. We were writing together, and as the story goes, he said, "Look, I just have to bop out for 20 minutes. I got to go down the road to meet somebody, to hand off a cassette. Can I please borrow your car?"
Yeah,
it was a really nice night. So Matt said, "Listen, Donnie, I just got this back from the restoration place. It was like as if you had gone into a dealership at 65. It was beautiful. It was on the cover of Rolling Stone. It's a picture of us on Rolling Stone was in that car." So Matthew, I don't know why he did it. He said, I got to go someplace, be back in 20 minutes. Donnie didn't show up until 4 days later. And he didn't come to the door. Oh. All we heard was a squealing of tires as he had dropped off the car and obviously had a getaway car waiting and peeled off out of there. We went out there and looked fine until we walked around to the other side of the car. And dude had taken out the entire left side of the car. Just gone.
You know, Gunnar, I could, you can't see it. And I'm close to tears. And I will tell you why, because it's the same story over and over. And there are some guys, I mean, you were brought up in fame, but there are some guys that guy, they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I'm not kidding you, but that guy and I was around it. I'm a Chicago guy. They're a Chicago band, Blue Island. And that guy, and he had the skills, he could write the songs, and and this incident with Clive Davis, and the whole story, it just breaks my heart.
It's tough. When
that guy, man, you could blame the drugs, but I think it's more than that.
Well, I mean,
here is the ring, man. Here it is, Donnie. Yeah. Here it is, and he would disappear for 4 days.
Yeah,
do you know how many of these stories I've heard?
Yeah, there's some people just have a propensity for self-immolation. I don't get it either.
Boy, I don't get it.
But we had them on the Nelson tour the first time around because we absolutely loved their music. I'd never met Chip before, and we were just fans.
Chip's a brother of yours.
Yeah, well, he is now.
He says. Yeah.
Yes, he is now. He is. Well,
what's up, Kyle?
Hey, I'm talking to Gunnar. Apparently, Donnie V really did fuck up. It was a 65.
I told you, I don't lie to you.
They said, no, Chip was fine. It was, how many of these stories I've heard? So Donnie borrowed the car just to drop off a cassette for 20 minutes. They were on Rolling Stone magazine with that car, and the asshole brings it back 4 days later, demolished.
Yeah, $16,000 in damage. I still have the bill at my house right now.
Are you going to go? They're going to be here October 4th.
Yeah, I know they are. I'm gonna go with you.
Okay. And no, Firehouse.
He's going on stage.
Oh, you're going on stage.
He's going on stage.
We're at the Arcata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Firehouse. Is Firehouse any good?
They got some hit songs. I don't know if it's your cup of tea, but they're good.
Well, I like Nelson.
Yeah, but Nelson's got tons of hits, and plus Nelson, that's a different type of a band right there. They got a lot of history. Plus, they do their romance songs too, like Garden Party and stuff.
Garden Party's the jam. Tell me, your wife wrote the book on who that just passed away?
Jack Russell.
Oh, yeah.
I read the book.
Great White.
Gunnar, do you know the story about Mark Slaughter and Robert Fleischman?
No, but I want to hear it. Mark's one of my good buddies. Hey,
you'll like it. You'll like it. Okay. Gunnar says hi.
Tell him that I love him dearly.
We don't have the other loser on. We don't need him.
What are you talking about?
my real name is Matthew, by the way. So
yeah, Matthew's wonderful, bro. I love him so. He's like a little brother to me.
He's the nicer one.
Gunner's really smart and Gunner's talented. Gunner doesn't just play guitar and sing and write songs. He plays drums like a motherfucker too.
We wanted attitude era Nelson. That's why we got Gunnar.
Yeah, well, Gunnar will talk about the trim a little bit, and I do like that.
Gunnar does love the trim. Put us back on, Ralph. I see enough's enough. Okay. So I want to tell the story. So Chip, can you listen for a second, or do you want to go?
Yeah, listen.
I don't know. Okay. So we go to see Slaughter. I love Mark. Who are you talking to, Chip? I hear other shit going on. Can you turn the TV down?
Yeah, I'm gonna. You go ahead.
You watching the Adventures of Ozzy and yeah. Okay. Anyway,
go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to see Slaughter. And I love Mark Slaughter. Mark Slaughter does great cartoon voices, and Mark Slaughter did a bunch of voices for my show. Okay, Gunnar, are you following?
He's great at voices. Yeah,
you look glazed over. Okay,
on
the phone chips enough. This is hilarious. Anyway, so do you know that Robert Fleischman, the original lead singer of Journey, was the voice of the guy from Kiss? What was his name? He now dresses like a woman. He's transitioning.
Oh, Vinny
Vincent. Yes. Vinny Vincent, who is whatever that is, not pretty. Anyway, so Fleischman's the voice. So Fleischman sits down to watch MTV, the world premiere of Vinny Vincent, and it's Mark Slaughter lip syncing him.
No way.
Yes.
Did not know that.
So there was a lawsuit, but it wasn't against Mark Slaughter. But it was interesting to be backstage and hear the whole story. And there's also another story, if I remember correctly, where Vinny got mad and threw a guitar down and urinated in the studio and left. And Fleischman said, no, we're not cleaning that shit up. Screw that guy. Leave it. And the cleaning crew came in. He goes, get out of here. No, he wants to piss on the floor. He's going to clean up. And he did. He came back and he said, clean up your piss.
You know what? My band was so boring, apparently.
Well, you were never around.
You
were getting the trim that Chip hails.
Well, Matthew never peed on the floor in front of me.
No. Did you ever see Chip's lovely wife?
No, but I'm sure she's a smoke show.
I think she's about 45 years younger than him.
Nice.
She's younger than his daughter.
I'm sure she's amazing.
She's wonderful. She wrote the book on Jack Russell. It's out. Chip, did we lose him? Yeah, we lost him. I hung up on him, I think. Anyway.
Thanks for calling,
he's a great. Yeah, no, he's wonderful. And now let's call Mark Farner.
I love Mark Farner.
Yeah, another guy. God, he's great. What celebrities did you have hanging around your house as a kid? Did Dean Martin ever come by?
No, never met him. I met his I've done some shows with his daughter Dina.
Yeah.
Before, but you know how it is, man. We're like 1 degree of separation from everybody. When I was a kid, we had people like.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, go ahead.
It was during that whole Troubadour, Southern California, Laurel Canyon thing that was going on in the late 60s, early 70s when our dad had the Stone Canyon band. So at our house, we had Bob Dylan was over all the time. He'd never leave.
Good guy.
We called him Crazy Hair Guy. We were kids, so we didn't know anything. We didn't know what an accent was. So Funny Voice guy turned out to be George Harrison that lived next door.
Wow. Lived next door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, hold on a second. Chip.
Yeah, make sure he tells you about the $27,000 a month telephone bill on the Enough's Enough Nelson tour, okay? Throwing money away like crazy. He had the first cell phone back in 1991. It was a big, big phone. They take it with him everywhere on the road. He had Andre, who was the road manager of Kinks, who was the PM with him. And and the band was out of control. They were more promiscuous. They were more promiscuous than Johnny Depp and Chip's Enough in the old days. There was so much action on the tour. There was these Strawberry Girls that came out backstage in the Boston shows, and we couldn't get them away from the brothers. They just were smitten by Cat Daiquiri. But every night they played 2.5-hour shows. The audience was crazy. All sold out gigs, playing nothing but arenas. We were following around Guns N' Roses and Skid Row. They'd play the next night. We'd pull in with our buses and we'd play the show. It was really a fantastic tour. And at the end of the tour, Enough's Enough lost about $56,000.
That's the way you do it. That's the way Pantera used to do it. I had to pay them in cash. I made a lot of money with Pantera. And,
I know you did. They broke them.
I did. They wanted to be paid, and I broke ICP. What a mistake! But they wanted to be paid in cash, and they had to get rid of all of the money. Pantera at the the height, Gunnar. They had to get everything in cash, and at the next morning, I was there all night. And if they had anything left, they were losers, and it was all on whores and drugs, and I mean they were living it, man.
Well, when cell phones were brand new.
Hold on, he's talking.
When cell phones were brand new, phone sex was really expensive.
Phone sex was expensive.
It was expensive.
Chip, you took me back, and I'm seeing those guys on MTV. They're on MTV every time you turn on with that hair and everything, the open shirts, the cucumbers in the pants. I tried it once, but I put it in the back. I blew it. But it must have just been a hoe train. It must have just been a screw me go round. My God, I'm just thinking. God, I did pretty good. Chip.
Yeah, when After the Rain came out, it was a top 10 hit. MTV was playing it 4 times a day. It was the top 10 countdown. They were playing on radio stations all around the country, all the P1 stations and P2. Man, you used to play them on Q101.
And Rock 103.5.
They got a lot of airplay. And then I remember in the middle of the tour, Aaron Everly, the Everly brothers' daughter, came out and she was dating one of the guys. I'm not going to say which guy it was, but she wore her boots well. She was finer than sin.
Well, the Everly brothers were big fans of Dad. Okay, Chip.
Yeah.
You were around. How did I do?
Oh, my God. I've never seen more trim in my life around you. I remember when you broke Kid Rock, we went over to the World Theater, and you had one trim on each arm, and I walked by you, and we were friends, you and I. I go, hey, man, how you doing? And you walked by me like I was a little jag-off. Didn't even say hello to me. Walked right onto the tour bus and got nibbled.
Oh, my God, dude.
I forgive you. For your questionable behavior.
I'm happily married. Gunnar is single again.
Well, that's how it should be when you're a guy like him who's got a Brinks truck full of chippy poos and you've already deposited banana juice in every single city. You got to take a break once in a while.
But do you think a guy like Gunnar, Chip, do you think he gets bored with the women? Do you think he's bored? Is that why some of these guys go to dudes? All the English artists, they got so much trim, they just started doing dudes.
If you read the book and stuff, his father, Ricky, he was smitten by trim. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The great thing about Gunnar is he listens to the Beatles and Queen and Cheap Trick and Enough's Enough. He's a songwriter. He likes songs. He tells great stories. And that's what's special about him. Because songs are they're like little embryos. It's the beginning of a relationship. And that was something that he wanted to share with all the audience. So when he goes out and plays these shows, he's playing for the trim.
Well, now he's playing for the trim.
Yeah, good luck. Get him Ron Rogers, attorney at law. He's really good. He'll save you some money.
All right, brother. Bye. I was, I happened to be backstage with one of the Ringo deals in Milwaukee, the Ringo superstar bands. Fleischman is friends with Luthiker. And basically Ringo's, I don't want to get sued. Okay, whatever. I got the distinct feeling being backstage. Colin Hay was there too from Men at Work. Anyway, I just got the distinct feeling that Ringo was out on the road, like a lot of these guys, to get a break from their wives. And I thought, if Ringo needs a break from Barbara Bach, I don't feel so bad.
You know,
you need a break.
Well, I don't know about that, man. Caveman was one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh,
right
man,
there with Joe Dirt. You know,
wow, wow, those are horrible
Barbara
movies.
Bach in Fur.
Oh,
you know, I mean, my God, amazing.
Bond girl, great Bond girl. What's the greatest American movie? I say Godfather. Second would be Citizen Kane. I think the greatest movie of all time was Third Man. How about you?
Man, that's a pretty heavy question. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one.
Skip it. How about this? What other than the Bible? What is your Bible? What's a great book?
Everything You Needed to Know About the Music Business by Donald Passman.
Not what I thought you would say, but it makes sense. Okay.
Well, hey, look, it saved me millions and millions and millions of dollars. Wow. So that would be my favorite book. Not necessarily the most enjoyable book. I'm a big Stephen King fan, to be honest with you. I like his short stories best. So I'm always reading.
Stephen King and Tommy Knockers and a few other books mentions a band from Kansas City that I grew up with called the Rainmakers. And I always found that interesting. We would quote this little Missouri band from the middle of Missouri, middle of nowhere.
Well, he did a bit. It was a short story called, They Got a Hell of a Band. And this couple gets lost in a car. They're driving through the countryside and stuff. And they come upon this looked like a town out of time. It's like 50s town with a 50s diner and stuff. And the people are acting kind of weird walking around. And they walk into this diner, and man, the waitress looks a whole lot like a celebrity that they know. And the fry cook looks a little like Ricky Nelson. And it looked like the guy who's cleaning up the tables looks like Elvis Presley, and so on and so forth. And everything changes and turns. They find out they're in the afterlife, and they're stuck there and stuff. And it's in basically rock and roll. Well, it's Stephen King, so it was rock and roll hell, but it was like rock and roll heaven with all these people. And I always felt pretty cool that Stephen King actually wrote my dad into one of his little short stories, which was kind of cool.
Do you remember the Boogeyman?
Yeah, I remember all of them.
Boogeyman, Daddy, Boogeyman. Boogeyman. Really scary. Yeah.
I mean, I thought Needful Things was a really great little pulp thing. I thought that was a great read.
I got to interview Tim Curry. I'm just thinking of him from It.
Yeah.
Pennywise is It. Yeah. God, what a talent that guy was. Listen, I feel like we could talk all night. You've given enough of your time to us. I appreciate it. I hope you had fun. Hope you'll do it again.
I did, man. I had a blast. And thanks for putting Chip on too.
That was fun. That was fun. I talked to Mark Farner, Grand Funk Railroad. You ready, Gunnar?
Yes.
Every single day.
Cool. I love that guy.
No. I'm going backstage, and the really dramatic manager at the Arcada. No. It was Genesee Theater. No. Hey, I don't care. I talk to Mark every day. Can you tell him Mancow's here? Who? Mancow. How do you spell? It's probably your same. It's probably your manager. I don't know. Okay. All right. He goes back, and I said, ask Mark. The door opens. I said, hey, Mark. Oh, Mancow, how are you? I said, Mark, how many times do you and I talk a day? He goes, well, once a day at least. We talk every single day. The manager goes, oh.
Yeah. Well, not much of a manager if he didn't know who you were.
I know. I was the last time I was popular was around when Ozzy was around.
I don't know, man. Seriously, I don't think our music industry would be the same without you. And
I did get to break a lot of rock and roll, man.
You did. You've broken a lot of bands, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
You've always been supportive of me and Matthew, and we really appreciate that, man.
Well, you're nice guys, and I want to say do you get out and sign and take pictures and all that? I bet you do, right?
Always.
Yeah. You're so gracious. I've seen you at a few different industry shows, and you're just good guys. And I wanted to pimp this thing tonight, or coming up on October 4th, but tonight, pimp it for October 4th. And I am glad you're doing your dad's stuff, and I'm glad I don't have to go to two shows.
Yeah.
Does that sound bad?
No. Well, the first one, as you mentioned, we're actually doing a double headline bill with Firehouse. They're great guys, big hits, and getting our 80s rock on. The next day, we're doing the Ricky Nelson Remembered show which is really more stylized and stuff. But it's kind of like something for everyone. And for us, it, getting to be musically schizophrenic keeps us sane. So
yeah.
We're having a great time. And to be honest with you, man, after all these years, just doing what we love to do more than anything for a living, we are truly living the dream.
Truly blessed.
Yep. And we feel it every day. So we just approach it that way.
Do you want to hear another? This has nothing to do with anything. I don't know why I'm telling you. You want to hear? You got time for one more quick thing?
Absolutely. Scare me.
I tried to, I got into radio for one reason, and it wasn't women. It was to meet the Kinks.
Okay.
The Kinks played my wedding. I was a Kinks fanatic. I'm more of a Moody Blues guy now. They kind of surpassed it. And I really tried, and they didn't really help. They didn't really help me. The Davies brothers had a bit of an attitude. Where would you rank them? For me, it would be, and I'm not talking about me personally. I'm just saying I think they should. I think it should have been the Beatles, the Who, and then the Kinks. Well, if we're talking great English bands, and they've never gotten the credit, and I really made it my life's mission to make it happen. I did, according to the Moody Blues, get them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I didn't need to help get the Kinks in the Hall of Fame, but I never could really put them over. And when they went to MCA, after they did Come Dancing, Clive and Arista Records was done with them. They hated that new sound. It hit for them, but they wanted them to stay a cool rock act and not a pop act. Am I boring you? Anyway, I was behind the scenes. I could never help them. I wanted to help them. I failed in my life mission. What do you think of the Kinks?
Well, what I think is a lot of the rock and roll that everybody's listening to nowadays wouldn't even be remotely the same. These are the guys that invented the distorted guitar sound. These are the guys.
Dave Davies, man, shoving that his mom's sewing needle in the amp created feedback. And
your listeners should know that. Your viewers should know that. It's really true. It was a huge moment in rock and roll, if you think about that. Not to be underestimated. Yeah. It was a happy accident, like a lot of things are. But that was one of those moments where he put a knitting needle through the cone of the speaker. Yeah. And the distorted rock and roll guitar sound was invented and used on purpose. Most of you mentioned Megadeth. Megadeth wouldn't be Megadeth without the Kinks, period.
And Van Halen's early hits were Kinks covers and et cetera.
Yeah.
Et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're talking to a guy whose father was really, really underestimated and unappreciated. Now think about this. The guy sold, as I mentioned, 500 million singles with a B in his career.
500 million.
500 million. He pioneered rock and roll for mainstream America, reinvented himself as a country rocker with the Stone Canyon Band, and is credited by Chris Hillman as being the first true country rocker with, in his estimation, Hello, Mary Lou was the first true country rock song. All of these all of this pioneering, played up to 300 dates a year up until the day he died, and he died on his way to a show and still has not received one single Grammy. So, I appreciate where you're coming from with the Kinks. He was inducted the second year into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, should have been the first, but the Presley estate told the organizers that if they also inducted Ricky Nelson, who was his #1 competitor that first year, they weren't going to get Elvis. So there's all kinds of political stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And as far as the Rock Hall and getting people in it, if you're not like really in there with that whole New York crowd, who really is the ones that get you in there, man, it's all politics. It's the same thing with Ozzy and Harriet. Grandpa Ozzy, like I said, the longest running sitcom in history. He owned the family show. He pioneered 3 camera techniques that everybody uses to this day, including the over-the-shoulder shot, not one single Emmy, which is really weird. So,
and he lived forever, right? Grandpa?
No, Harriet actually.
Harriet, okay.
Yeah, she was cool as hell. She was great.
Was Mike Nesmith he took your dad's sound and ran with it his whole life, didn't he?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, he was he was a great writer. He wrote different drum for Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah, I know.
And he didn't get a lot of the credit that he was due, but he was really a country rocker, like all those guys at the Troubadour during that time. That was really the thing that really influenced my sound with my brother, and people didn't realize that. We grew up in Southern California around that whole movement, that whole thing where you had Buffalo Springfield and Graham Parsons and Linda. And as a matter of fact, John Boylan, my godfather, who also produced the Boston record, he put the Eagles together as Linda Ronstadt's backing band. And these are the people, they were around the house all the time.
6 degrees.
Music. Yes.
So forget Kevin Bacon. We got Gunnar.
Well, when listen to the Nelson vocal sound, that's where it came from. Everyone sang when I was growing up.
There's a great book about the Canyon, and I don't know if it's true. It's incredible. And some people of your ilk have said, yeah, no, there was. And I'm not saying I know it wasn't with your family, but was there a satanic and a government element? There's like a secret base up there and all kinds of, I've
got to be honest with you. I am.
There's a book I just read. I mean, it could be horseshit.
If there was, I'm just being honest with you, I would be the first guy to say, you know, conspiracy, nothing, just give it 3 months. It's the truth. Yeah. I'd be the first guy to say it.
Yeah.
If I'd heard anything like that or felt any of that, I didn't.
Zappa had some military relations. Jim Morrison had military connections.
Well, Jim did legit.
Gulf of Tonkin. David Crosby. And they're saying that the point of the book is that the government infiltrated rock and roll and turned it negative and turned it away from the peace and love thing.
I don't know about that.
It's a great book, but bullshit. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't know about that, to be honest with you.
I went to what's the little famous store in the canyon?
Oh my gosh, it's called the Canyon store.
So I went in that little store because it's a famous store. I wanted to go there my whole life, and I got kicked out.
What did you do?
Well, I did the crime of being on O'Reilly the night before to sell. I had a book about my dad that was a New York Times bestseller called Dad, Dames, Demons, and a Dwarf. And I walked in there and they had seen me in O'Reilly. You were on Fox News. Get out, get out. And I went online and wrote a review. And you know what they said? Oh, yeah, no, we kicked him out. We don't like that asshole. We don't want him in here. Well, I'm not welcome. I'm not welcome.
Well, man, so many deals have happened in that Canyon store right there.
I know. I mean, it's a little health food grocery store. Did you ever remember Brian Wilson's health food store?
No.
Yeah.
But I'm good friends with both Carney and Wendy. We had a Christmas hit with those girls.
I remember. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. You guys would tour together.
Well, man, apparently we went to swimming class with those girls when we were toddlers and with Bobby V's kids as well.
Yeah. At the height of their fame, Q104 Kansas City, Carney and I were alone in the men's room.
Oh.
And nothing happened. No, I mean, nothing happened.
She is, I mean, by far one of the coolest people I've ever met in this business.
What about Moomie? Do you know Bill Moomie? Bill Moomie?
I've never met him, as a matter of fact. I haven't.
The kid from Lost in Space, but plays with America, and
yeah, he's great. His attorney and my attorney are the same guy, and I've been hearing stories about him through all these years, but never got a chance to meet him. But I'm a fan.
He plays with everybody. What are the chances? You have oh, there you go. Okay, all right, the same attorney. Oh, yuck. So, what is the most? I'm sorry, I'm just enjoying this.
Sure.
We never go this long. What's the most expensive guitar behind you? Or what's your most expensive? I have Les Paul was a Mancal fan. I have a signed Les Paul. That's my greatest guitar, valued at $30,000. What's your greatest guitar?
The most expensive guitar that I have is not on the wall behind me. It's actually the 1971 Black Beauty Les Paul that my father's holding on the cover of the Garden Party record. That is the most expensive one that I currently own. Most of my dad's guitars went down with him in the plane crash. There were only 2 that survived. One was getting fixed because Matthew and I were playing it in our high school band. That was that Black Beauty guitar that I'm mentioning. And the other was the acoustic guitar that he wrote the song Garden Party on that was in the Rock Walk at Guitar Center in Hollywood at the time. So those are the only ones that survived. And the Garden Party Les Paul has been appraised at $250,000.
So if you're ever in a pinch.
Never selling it. I'd rather die broke with a cool guitar.
Is that a true story? You have to give us a long answer, but is Garden Party a true story?
Yeah, well, it is a true story. Just for the listeners out there, the chorus of the song,
one of the great songs of all time.
It's very, very cool. But if you know the story behind it, it's even cooler. The chorus by itself is super catchy.
You want to tell it?
Yeah.
Tell it.
Okay. Well, the chorus itself is very catchy. Okay. You can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself. That's the thing.
Can't please everyone.
Sing-songy, wonderful. But the real story is our dad got a phone call. It was like 1970 to play at Madison Square Garden, which he'd always wanted to do. It was always a dream of his. He'd never gotten a chance to do it. But he'd been called by this guy named Richard Nader, and Richard was a promoter of oldies shows. So you got to imagine 1970, my dad had been doing the Stone Canyon Band exclusively, like one of the first country rock bands. He wasn't doing his old stuff anymore. He had long hair and sequins and bell bottoms and was doing that Laurel Canyon thing. And had been doing it, like I said, exclusively for 6 years. But he gets this phone call from this 50s oldies promoter guy and offers him a gig to actually play at Madison Square Garden. he gets talked into it. Rick, I know you're not doing the same stuff you were doing before, but as long as you show up, they're going to love you. It's going to be great. Now, our dad, against his better judgment, went ahead and did it. And he showed up and he knew he was in trouble. He said he peeked out from behind the curtain and he saw 22,000 like saddle shoes and poodle skirts. And that was just the guys. It was bad. Okay. He knew it was going to be a problem. He goes out on stage and he's looking different doing the whole thing. And the audience lasted 2 or 3 songs. He got booed off the stage for doing his new stuff. They expected black and white TV Ricky circa 1962 to come out on stage. And I suppose in hindsight, for the people not to accept him as the man he was then, they would have to admit that they too were getting old or older. And it was terrible. You know, that's why he did Hello, Mary Lou and Traveling Man, but he did them with his new country rock spin on it. But again, he went into the Rolling Stones' Honky Tonk Woman, which was a contemporary song at the time. It was too much for that audience that expected the 50s. 22,000 people booed him off the stage. So 2 weeks later, the phone has stopped ringing at this point. Word is out that Rick got booed off the stage at Madison Square Garden. And he said this song came to him in a fit of inspiration. The words, the melody, everything. He couldn't write it down fast enough. That's why on the back of the album cover for Garden Party, you could see he was turning the page and not wanting to get up and just write everything down. And when you listen to the lyrics now, I played them all, the old songs. I thought that's why they came, but no one heard the music. I didn't look the same. I said hello to Mary Lou. She belongs to me. But when I sang a song about a honky tonk, it was time to leave. But it's all right now. I learned my lesson well. You can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself. It was a great Rick Nelson style middle finger in a velvet glove to all those people who wanted to keep him stuck. And it was the song that really liberated him as a person. To me, it makes me very proud because he was just one of these guys that I suppose had been behaving or acting or appearing like that person that everybody wanted him to be. That was the first time he put his own music together, was writing his own material, and it was making that statement, hey, man, if you like my new stuff, great. If you don't, great, but you're not going to keep me stuck. And I love that story, but that's the real story behind Garden Party.
It's one of my favorite songs, and I appreciate the story. I really do, and I didn't know the story, and thank you. And
you're welcome.
Ralph, let's say good night to him, and I'm gonna have a few words here. And Gunnar, thank you. And
thank you so
break
much.
a leg on the 4th. October 4th, folks, Arcata Theater. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
No, that was great.
All right.
We've been doing this since the 80s, so thank you. We got a history.
Come on anytime. Thanks,
thank
man,
you, brother.
Appreciate
thank you.
you.
Say hi to your brother.
Okay, will do. Bye-bye.
Okay. Ralph, hang up on him. Hang up on him. I don't have to sit through this. Or look, I really enjoyed that. The family was connected to everybody in showbiz. I don't know if you ever watch classic movies or classic classic radio, listen to classic anything, great books. Just finished a Capote book that just knocked me out from my friend Robert Fleischman, who I spoke of earlier. I saw a Kamala sign that said, we're not going back. We're not going back. Today, when I saw the photo shoot of the girl out on the street, I also saw an invader convulsing on the street. Lots of invaders convulsing on the streets, and one guy just nearly naked, and my wife was afraid. We're not going back. We're not going back. And I wish we could. And you can categorize me any way you want. You can put me in any box you want. That's what we do, right? It's actually very hard to do that with me. And it's created a lot of problems for me in my life. Had I been a Republican, I would have made millions more. Had I been a liberal, I would have made millions and millions more. Getting blurry there. We know how to sell Rush. We know how to sell Hannity. They're Republicans. Never a Republican. Never a party first. My Jewish friends that would vote for Kamala they're back in the early years of Hitler. And they had nowhere to go. And not many people, if any, wanted them before Hitler's total rise. Israel was created for this purpose, so that Jewish folks would have a place to go to. And they do predate by many, many, many thousands of years what's there, or what claims it's their homeland. Egypt doesn't want them. They were kicked out of everywhere. No one in the Muslim world is helping what's going on in Israel. They want it to go on. They want that Karo seed of agony. Under Kamala, I fear the end of Israel. My father's prophecy, my father was a $30,000 a year cabinet salesman. I've told you this before, and you'll hear it again if you watch this podcast. And he had one prophecy in his life, and that was when Taiwan goes back to China, it's time to run for the hills. Get your dehydrated food and your guns, boys, and go to the hills, because it's over. I believe under Kamala, we'll see the end of Taiwan and Israel. What Muslim leader is going to meet with cackling Kamala and take that seriously? Shit, I don't take it seriously. What Muslim country is it in the last couple of weeks that said women couldn't make any noises in public, and if they would make a noise, they'll be arrested? Islam means to submit. Well, F that, because I ain't submitting. I ain't submitting to your bullshit, I'll tell you that. Or this government's bullshit. You see what's going on in Ireland? You see what's going on in Italy and the UK? Oh, the replacement. That's the replacement there. It's ridiculous. Okay. I saw 1,400 people with these eyes a couple of blocks from my house let off at a train station. And they're all military-age men standing in military formation as they got off the train, and we handed them money, government money. The black person that would vote for Kamala, who in tape after tape and film after film talks about being Indian and her Indian mother from India, the African-American that's duped again by this Democratic Party. Oh, the shit I've seen in this city of mine, Chicago. Black and brown, black and brown, black and brown, black and brown. You've heard it too. And they do two things for the black man and woman. Jack shit. And they'll step over their dead kids to vote for the Democrat again. Because of this fake white hatred. Man, I'm white. I'm really white. And I don't know what any of this is about. I've been around I was on the Springer show with a guy. He didn't hate blacks. He just hated Jewish people. He was shocked to find out that Jerry Springer was Jewish on TV. It was pretty funny. Wait, Jerry, I love you. You're Jewish? Yeah, I'm Jewish. All this bullshit. Do they want a race war? What do they want? And QAnon, and this is going to happen, and Hillary's going to get locked up. Ron Howard said on my show that if Trump is elected president, before he was elected president the first time, that he would put gays in concentration camps. Didn't happen. When's it going to happen? I think we can judge Trump on the last 4 years of what he did, the 4 years of his presidency, and we can judge Kamala. You want to take the taxes off tips? Do it right now, Kamala. You can do it now. They're going to redo the Supreme Court. They're going to open our borders. And no, we don't come back from this. Not while I'm breathing. Not while my kids are breathing. Maybe in several generations. But this idea that something's going to happen and we're going to be saved. God can make a difference. God got Daniel out of the lion's den. You can pray. I pray, and I hope you keep me in your prayers. I keep you in my prayers. But I've had it my whole life. Trump or bust, Spooky. Yeah. I don't wish to conquer anyone. I don't wish to hurt anyone. I want to be left alone. If you listen to my show for the last 30 years, you'll know that that's right. I want the do-nothing party. I don't want your Republican rhinos. I don't want your Dick Cheneys. I don't want your Hillarys. I don't want your Bill. I don't want any of them. Leave me alone. I pay $45,000 a month, a year, $45,000 a year property tax. How can I keep doing that? It's not finances. It's for what? Women's health. Have you heard this from women? Heard some guy going, maybe we shouldn't have given him the vote. Ridiculous. But women's health is aborting a baby at 9 months. Trump got rid of abortion? No, he didn't. You can go anywhere and get an abortion. You can get an abortion right in my garage right now if you got enough money. No, come on. Commie Con is gone. Commie Con is gone. I called my fence guy, friend of Gary Rabin's. He said the fences, maybe $50,000 around the United Center. Maybe. They spent close to $1 million, I think, $900,000 for this cheap, shitty, rickety little wooden fence with wire to go around the United Center. Maybe $50,000, this fence guy told me. We spent $1 million. We're giving how much to these illegals as they take over buildings? They're eating people's cats. We're not going back. Yeah, they ate my fucking dog, but we're not going back. There won't be Israel. There won't be Taiwan. China. We're not going back. I'm voting Kamala because she's African. Wow, you're stupid if you really feel that way. And are you about getting sick and tired of talking to people that think that way? Seriously. It's like talking to that Jim Carrey character when he would talk out his own asshole. Really? Are you that stupid? Oh, Tommy-Con, the DNC. Man, just a big celebration of evil. Can't get here soon enough. I'm ready for the trumpets. I'm ready for the judgment. Maybe it's not Christian of me to think I would enjoy it. Oh, shit. You mean we can't rape kids and go to heaven? Oh, shit. You mean we can't put women in bags and treat them like garbage? Oh, shit. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, I'm going away. I'm going to stop doing this for a while. When I return, WPC will be my guest, I think. I talk to him almost every day. His tour is going well, Smashing Pumpkins. I've never asked. I haven't asked. I'm going to assume when we return, he'll do it. And I don't know when that'll be. Maybe I'll jump back on before the election. Facebook and Instagram have taken me off for no reason until right after the election. Hey, Mancow, what are you doing? Why haven't I seen you around? Well, there's a reason. They don't want you to hear anything but filtered bullshit. Kamala's great. As my mom used to say, shut up.